under Section 92 of the Australian Constitution, I believe it is unconstitutional for the state government to keep the borders closed. It means that you can't have the borders closed for trade or commerce, although she says that's happening at the moment, but it's also your coastal waters. So we don't have people coming to the coastline, whether it be tourism, and it's freedom of movement of the people. So hence closing the borders. Let me make it quite clear to people. People are saying, look, keep the borders closed. This has nothing to do with international borders. This is about state borders between the states, allowing people from Victoria, New South Wales to move up to Queensland. We are losing so much in industry, so many jobs that have been lost. And on an average, it's about $770 million a month that we are losing. So Cairns alone, 10 million a day. That's what they're losing in tourism. We rely on nearly 50% of our income in Queensland from southern tourists coming up to Queensland. And she's destroying all that because she is pig-headed, dogmatic, dictator in keeping the border shut. For what reason? And there's no real reason to keep the border shut.
Well, she's choosing health over wealth. That's what she's saying. And I noticed in the Gold Coast Bulletin this morning, Senator, that the Gold Coast Mayor, Tom Tate, is falling behind the Premier as well, saying it's all about the health. But I know from talking to tourism operators that they're absolutely on their knees in Queensland at the moment, particularly in far north Queensland. What are your lawyers telling you about chances at the moment? Because the Premier's position has been that by the time you get this through the High Court, the borders will be open anyway.
Well, when the Health Minister comes out and said, well, really, we didn't need to shut down the schools, but we had to actually put out a message that would put people in fear to take the coronavirus seriously. Really? We didn't need to shut down the schools, so put parents through all that stress, school kids all through that stress of not going to school. Then she says now we've got to keep the border shut because of the health issues. But she's not understanding the depression that people are going through. They're losing their businesses, they're losing their homes, they're actually shutting down. There's higher suicide rates, family breakdowns. So this is not a health risk at all. It's all right for Annastacia. She's got to pay. All her members of Parliament got to pay. I've got my pay. That's okay. It's not my fight. It's really not. I'm sort of taking on behalf of the Queensland people for jobs, because I tell you now, these businesses go under, there won't be jobs. But when you're ready to come out to want to work again and you've had enough of staying at home, getting the JobKeeper and JobSeeker payment that the government's paying you, which is probably more than what you're getting in your hand anyway by going to work. So therefore, when you decide that you want to actually move on with your life, the jobs won't be there. So she's using this as an excuse. And when the Chief Medical Officer in Queensland comes out and says, well, if the tourist industry wants a realistic scenario, then plan on September. So if you think that by September we'll lose by then about $2 billion, that's why I've put this. And I've actually, I've actually put out a GoFundMe page that people to help to pay for this because, it's terribly expensive to take this on to the high courts. So if anyone out there, tourist operators, people that it's affecting you, people who can't see the families, if you really want to see the borders open, then I suggest you help me and help the people who are the plaintiffs and go to find the High Court challenge, go open the state borders.
Where's that GoFundMe page up to, do you know?
When I went to bed last night, it was only kicked off yesterday, so there's not much in it at all. I've got to tell you that, Peter, at the stage when I looked at it last night. People, I've actually put my neck on the chopping block. I'm actually forcing this issue, like I do with the dairy farmers, the family law courts, with, the farmers losing their lands, everything like this, that I try to do more for the people than any other politicians who really, and there's a handful that do work, but there's a lot that don't get out there and really work for the people.
So how much do you need?
Well, the lawyers have said about $1 million, but it all depends. They have to put a figure on it. It probably won't cost you that much. I don't know, all right? It's only what the lawyers put on it.
Yeah.
When you've got a team of lawyers, when you may need the expert evidence from, say, medical experts, health experts and all the rest of it. But I'll tell you now, the National Medical Health Officer and the federal government have said there's no reason to shut the borders. There was no reason to shut down the schools. This is basically not leadership. This is a dictatorship. And she's using this for her own personal political tool and ploy against the people of Queensland, because this is Labor against the federal, which is a Liberal government. So it's not about working together. This is pure politics.
So just to clarify, Senator, is it 4 o'clock this afternoon is the deadline?
4 o'clock. They need to answer why the state borders won't be opened. So she's given an ultimatum, or the Chief Medical Officer said, look at the realistic scenario of plan for September. Well, I'll tell you what, if those tourist operators and people out there really want to see the businesses survive, I suggest they better get behind me, because I tell you, there's no hope for you. Once you're under, you won't get the support.
I think I know what your answer is going to be to this, but as horrendous as it is, the Queensland's 7th coronavirus victim has come from central Queensland. That doesn't change your view, obviously.
Coronavirus, he died with it. He didn't die from it, or she. I don't know if it's a he or she.
It's a 30-year-old fella. Yeah.
Oh, fella, right, 30-year-old. They died with it, not from it. You talked about the 100,000 deaths that are in the United States, people with it. Do you know that most of the deaths were from people in nursing homes? People die with the coronavirus. Any death that happens, if you're in a car accident and you actually have the coronavirus, they put it down as a coronavirus death. So all this scaremongering that's been going on, that's what it is. People are in fear. So I'm telling the people, there's no vaccine for this. It may not come for a long time. We cannot live this way. If you have a disability, say, as you know, respiratory problems, diabetes, health issues, underlying health issues, cancer, or in the age bracket, the older generation, then you have to take responsibility for yourself. You lock yourself away. You take responsibility for your health. The rest of the country has to start opening up and get moving. Otherwise, we'll end up a third world country not providing the services that we need. So forget about your ability to have the hospitals, the schools, the infrastructure, and you can forget about funding the NDIS, the $23 billion a year, or Gonski, $22 billion a year, or the Defence Force, $20 billion a year. Because I tell you what, the money won't be there. So I don't know where you think the money grows on trees, and this is what I'll tell the Premier. People have to get out and work and start paying their taxes to run the country. You can't expect those who are paying the taxes to keep you sitting there doing nothing because you're happy for the state borders to stay shut.
Just a quick one before we go, Senator. Do you believe that IR reform can be achieved?
Yes, I do, and they're about 6 months too late, because I sat down with the unions and an industrial relations lawyer, and I said, it's about time you all got around the table to discuss where we're going with this nation. Whoever's in government, whether it's federal, Labor or Liberal, the whole fact it's either bring in these laws, then the next one throws them out. They are so convoluted, so confusing, that we need assurance, and the workers need assurances. Yes, it needs to be, but they were quite prepared to sit around the table with me. It needs to go ahead.
Would you support increasing the ability of casuals to request permanent employment?
What my policy was that if they've been employment under a casualisation for 12 months or more, then the employer must put to them about a permanent position, but it's up to the person themselves whether they want to stay in casual or full-time employment. So a lot of people are quite happy to be under casual. They don't want the full-time employment. This is what you've got to work out. There's too many different agreements, 121 enterprise bargaining agreements. You've got another 4 million individual agreements. Then you've got 14 different hourly rates. Businesses are so confused they don't know whether they're paying them under state or federal. The whole lot needs throwing out, needs to be simplified, easier for the businesses, easier for the unions, and that's what needs to happen.